Okay, like I said, in this video we're going to get ready to put the components on the front of the engine. I think what I do is I'm going to start at the bottom of the engine, and this way you can see, get a better shot, because if I put the engine mount bracket in there, then it's just going to kind of obscure everything. So first thing we're going to do is going to put in the water pump. And what I like to do, and it's not a necessary step, you know, something like this, but I like to put in a little bit of Vaseline, especially when it comes to like O-rings. And it's not so much as sealing, but the biggest thing is it just holds it in place so that you can be sure that when you put this thing down in there, that this O-ring is not going to, you know, roll, drop out, you know, something of that sort. So let's get that in there. Put a little bit, like I said, it's just to hold it. Okay. Then take a little bit, we can just put on here. Okay. Now you see how it just sits right in there. And like I said, it's not a necessary step, but just something I like to do. I don't have to worry, like I said, worry about it trying to fall out of there. Okay, then you just come back and just kind of wipe the excess off. That's it. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing in there. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we're going to put it down here. Now once this engine mount bracket is out of the way, you'll find that you'll be able to just take this thing right from the top side and just get it on down in there. Okay, just a little maneuvering there to find out where it's at. Make sure you got all this clean. I mentioned that in a previous video. And the weep hole is going to be pretty close right up to the top. If I remember, it was a little slightly to the left there. In fact, actually, when you put it in, I'm finding out that it's only one spot. There it is. And it's a little, the flange here is locking it in place. So that's good. All right. It's got 3 bolts. There's 3 socket head bolts. I got a 6mm hex bit will take care of tightening them up. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I got a little bit of Loctite. I'm going to put some Loctite on each one of these.
Okay, while I'm putting these bolts in place, let's talk a little bit about what we see. Now you notice that the 2 camshaft sprockets, in my case, I don't have the vice grip pliers on. As I mentioned, the timing belt broke. So in your case, if you're just changing the timing belt and you're going to go in here and change your idlers and your water pump, you're going to have your vice grip pliers in place, locked, so that these here timing marks will stay in the right position. Of course, you've done all this timing earlier. Now, another thing that you'll notice that the engine mount bracket is off. And in my case, I had to pull it off when I pulled ahead. In your case, you don't have to, but take a look down there. You see how much more accessible it is to get to that water pump? Now, you can get to the water pump, you can maneuver it and get it down in there. Now, keep in mind that it's going to be very difficult for you to get this water pump down from the top. I found it, you know, it may be possible, but I couldn't find how to do it. So maybe you can. But if you can't get it from the top, then take it across from underneath the alternator, as I showed you before, and maneuver it, and then you can get it in that way. So you may want to just take that bracket off.
As I mentioned, this is a 6mm hex bit. Okay, like all the other bolts, just get it up. We'll come back later getting it tightened up. All right, here's what we got. Water pump torque is 18 foot-pounds. If you're going to use an inch-pounds torque wrench, that'll be 216 inch-pounds. I'm going to do the first pass, I'm going to do it at 108 inch-pounds or 8 foot-pounds. Then on the second pass, I'm going to finish it up. So I'll catch you guys once I get everything wrapped up. But you can see what I'm going to do.
Well, obviously I can't divide 18 foot-pounds by 2. That should be 9.
Right now I'm doing the final pass. I'm going to finish it up at 18 foot-pounds. And I got my torque wrench here set at 216. Just kind of easing up on it a little bit. A little tight to getting in here. Okay, that was one. That was one. Okay, there's the other one. Now, let's go back and make one more pass. Make sure they're still where they're supposed to be. Okay, good. Good. And good. All right. Okay, next thing we're going to put on is the engine mount bracket. Make sure you got this thing clean. This here is where the right idler is going to be at. The left idler is going to be running over here with this spindle. Okay, got a bolt here, got a bolt here, and the other one for the spindle on the left side is going to be using for the mount. We're going to be torquing these up to 41 foot-pounds. You want to make sure all of this here is cleaned up, because remember, our idlers is going to be running on here. Want to make sure we got all the rust off. We don't want this thing to be cocked a little bit, and then the timing belt's going to be tracking off. So you want to make sure you got all that clean. By the way, this one right here, this spindle, it's got a little rubber grommet on it. I believe in the previous video I was thinking the idler ran here. Actually, this is where one of the timing belt front cover bolts is going to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this here grommet off. Going to put a little silicone spray on it. Reason for that is just keep the rubber soft. Come back, make sure you get all the excess off. Okay. And then we're just going to stick it right back on. Right there. Alright. Alright, so let's get this on. Got the engine mount bracket in place. I'm going to just put this left bolt right here. It's on the top. There you go. This is where the left spindle is going to be running on. Remember, it went there with a nut. Alright, so we're going to get him started. If I can find the bolt hole. Okay, got this bolt here. I'm going to put him over here on the right side. Remember, this is the one that had the little recessed area. Then, got another one. And if I hadn't mentioned, I got Loctite on all of these bolts. Okay, now here's the, all of the bolts are in place for the engine mount bracket. Remember, this is for the left spindle. Okay. You got one over here, hex head bolt, and then there's another one further down there. Okay, so now we're going to torque this thing up to 41 foot-pounds. I'm going to do it in 2 passes. So the first pass I'm going to do is at 20 foot-pounds, and then wrap it up at 41. All right, I'm just finishing up the final pass on the engine mount brackets, 41 foot-pounds. Okay, just make one more pass just to make sure. Okay, and then one more down here. Okay, 41 foot-pounds. Now look at this. This is how it's going to go on. This here, we're going to be putting this here tensioner on right now, and here's a bolt. I'm going to put Loctite on it later. right now, I'm gonna leave it dry, because if I put it on now, tighten it up, then I gotta turn around, loosen it up when I make the adjustment. Well, what I want you to pay attention to right now is this notch, okay? This notch on the back. Now I'm going to show you where this goes. You got to be sure this goes in the correct position. So I'm going to give you a shot of that next, because once I start to mount this up and you're looking at it from the top side, you will not see anything at that point. So I'm going to show it to you now. Okay guys, now the shot that you're looking at right now is where the tensioner is going to go. So like I said, once I start mounting this thing, you won't be able to see none of this. Now that notch that I mentioned to you earlier is going to fit right in between where this little flange is right there. There's another flange right here. So the notch is going to fit right in between where the red laser beam is at right now. Now the bolt is going to be going right in there, okay? So you get the notch, make sure it's lined up in between here, put your bolt, finger tighten it, you'll be good to go. Okay. Now I've got the tensioner on, got the bolt finger tight, and what I'm doing now is giving you a last shot of showing you that tang is going to go in between those two pieces of metal that I was showing you about. And I'm moving it back and forth so you can see where I'm at there. Okay. Okay, I'm putting the tensioner on now. Make sure that you get that notch into the area that I showed you before.
Now at this point I don't have any Loctite on there, and I'm just finger tightening the bolt because later we're going to have to put the idlers on, so we don't want this here Loctite to be drying up. So it's just put it on to hold it in place right now. We're going to put the Loctite on later.
Okay, we're going to put on the right idler. This is a brand new idler. Okay. Everything looks good. Now, you know, from the point where you start putting all this stuff on the front of the engine, as far as the tensioner, you know, the idlers and that things, you want try to keep your hands as clean as possible, you know, so you don't want to get any grease and you know, dirt and anything like that on these pulleys, because once this here belt gets this stuff on there, you've contaminated the belt. That's going to shorten the life of the belt. So try to keep this thing as clean as possible. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to install this here idler for the right side. Remember, flange, the flange goes to the back. I got a little bit of Loctite on the bolt. These are 13 millimeter heads. Torque on these is going to be 18 foot-pounds. All right, just wrapping it up. Okay, 18 foot-pounds. Okay, now after you get your camshaft cover on and get it down and making sure it's all seated down on there, next thing you want to do is make sure that you got your mark on your crankshaft sprocket in line with this here notch. And I got a little piece of paper under there so you can see what I got. Hopefully it'll show up pretty good. Okay.
Okay, what I'm showing right now is the left idler, which I have not placed on. You're going to find out it's going to be a lot easier putting this belt on, just leaving that left idler off. So that's what, just set it off to the side. I'm just pointing that out right now. So we're not going to install it at this moment right now.
All right. I showed you a printout of the routing from the manual, but it was really a messy looking thing. So I just redrew it up so you can see the belt routing. What we want to do, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to start with. First, you want to get this thing, get it around the bottom of the crankshaft sprocket. Then you want to route it up here, carry it over the idler. Carry it over the exhaust cam, come across, carry it under intake.
Now here my finger is pointing on the left hand side of the left spindle, but carry it over on the right hand side. Remember the idler is off, so you're going to be carrying it over to on the right hand side, just like the belt travel shows right now, except you won't have the idler on there.
Come around this here water pump, and then come around the tensioner. Then we'll come back. Then we'll come back and we'll screw the idler in. Should make it a lot easier trying to get this belt on. So make sure your hands are clean. You don't want anything on this belt, okay? You don't want any chemicals, no oil, no grease, dirt. So I've washed my hands up pretty good. You want to make sure all your idlers are clean, tensioner's clean. You don't want any kind of grease and all down there.
Okay, we can talk a little bit about this here routing of this belt. You're going to start on the crankshaft sprocket, as I mentioned earlier. You're going to go up on the right-hand side, as I'm pointing out right now. You're going to go over that right idler, and you're going to go over that exhaust camshaft sprocket. Now, you want all the tension taken out. You want this to be tight. You don't want any slack on that side. Because remember, you're going to take out the slackness over there on the left-hand side where the tensioner is at. So make sure the belt is tight as you can get it, going up from the crankshaft sprocket around the right idler, and then going over the top of the exhaust camshaft sprocket. Now I'm going to show you the rest of it as we go, as we are routing this here. One other thing too, you might find that the crankshaft sprocket might want to turn. I didn't have an issue with it, but if you want to try to keep it from turning, you might can get you some wood wedges like at Home Depot, like they use to shimming windows and things and doors. So you might could take that and you might could actually wedge that in on the bottom after you get the belt around the crankshaft sprocket. That may keep it from turning on you. Just a thought, just in case you run into that issue. Okay, we're getting ready to put the belt on. So right now, before you put the belt on, go get you a little bit of Loctite, put it on the tensioner bolt, screw the tensioner back on, and just leave the bolt finger tight, because you're going to have to leave it loose so you can get the belt over there while we route it.
What you want to do is you want to start down in your crankshaft sprocket, okay? I've already got it around down there. Now it's taking a route around the belt idler. Want to come across here, okay? Remember, you want to try to keep this here as tight as you can, right? Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's see how we're going to fall around there. Hey, that looks pretty good, so let's keep on going. So let's go on around. All right, now, next thing, you remember, I got my idler off over here on the left side. So now, we're going to just take it and go around. I want to put it on this side, because this is where it's going to go as far as the idler. Then I'm going to come down here. Let's get it around the water pump a little bit. Okay, now the tensioner is going to go over onto the right hand side, so I'm going to kind of slip him over there. It's just a little messing here. All right, see how I'm looking. All right, so now he's on there. Okay. See what we got. Let me see that. Let me see the light. Okay. Now, I've got the left idler slid on now, but before you do that, make sure that your tensioner down here is as far back as it'll go this way. All right. Loosen your bolt right here. Then you can see this little metal tab in here. Take your finger, move it back and forth, and you'll see the most direction you want to go this way. In my case, it looks like it's pretty much about like that, but you'll see it. Once you get it like you want, come back and snug it up with your fingers. Then you can see you want to get it routed. Comes around, and what's the idea is you got this, and before you do that also, come back and make sure that you have got all your slack is taken out over here. You want it nice and tight. Go across, 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 and now when you get your water pump, get it around your tensioner, make sure your crankshaft sprocket is good, then take and push this belt over, and at the same time, just slide your pulley right on. And as you can see, we got them on there right now. Okay. Now once you get them on, and before you put the nut on, come down, make sure everything looks good. Okay, he looks good. Mark looks good. Then come back, take a look at your crankshaft, because a lot of times he might want to try to move on you. Yeah, he looks good. Okay, so when you're happy with that, then come back, get you some Loctite, and we'll go ahead and tighten that nut up. Just torquing it up. Left idler, 18 foot-pounds. Okay, there he is. He's there. And like I said, I mentioned I got a little bit of Loctite on there also. I'm going to kind of show you what I'm going to do now to tension up the belt. Now, where you're going to tension the belt is, see this piece right here? There's a 6mm hex head bit, well, a 6mm bit will fit right in here. So you're going to turn that, and you want to loosen this bolt, and you're going to turn this, and when you turn this, you're going to see this pointer is going to start to move while you turn this. What you want to shoot for, get your pointer right in this notch, right in the middle. And if you look right there, it actually has on there, it says new. And over here on this side, it says used. course, I would never go to use. I would just keep it on new. Look at it the next 30,000 miles, inspect it. You know, look at your belt and see if you see any coolant leaking, oil leaking, or whatever. And just keep it there. When you get to the next one, say 60,000, just take it out and just readjust it and keep it in that same position. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm going to do down here, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So once I get this in the position I want, pointer's right here, then I'm going to come back and then I'm going to just snug this bolt. And by the way, initially I told you that I didn't have any Loctite on this here bolt, but right before I started routing the belt, I went ahead and put some Loctite on there. Okay, just as a reminder. Okay, all right. Okay, I'm up underneath the car. I'm going to tighten this tensioner, and I got my wife up above so you can get a shot of seeing what I'm going to do here. She's going to let me know when this here pointer gets in the middle of the notch there. So you'll see the pointer should be moving, and I'm moving that little piece of metal that I told you about. Okay.
A little bit more.
Okay.
Okay.
Right there?
Yep, right there.
Now once you get it in the middle, then take your bolt. And just while you're holding it in that spot, just go ahead and tighten the bolt up. Now I still have the vice grips, they're still on there. Now you can do this stuff up from the top side, and but you know, I figured I'd just let you guys get a shot.
Oh, it slipped.
Okay.
It slipped. You need to go. Oh, it slipped big time now.
To the right?
You need to go more to the left. Back to the left.
Okay, back to the left.
Oh.
Alright, back to the right?
Yeah, back to the right.
Okay. More?
Yep. It went way back. Keep going. A little bit more. Okay.
Right there.
A little bit more to the left.
To the left?
Just a tad.
Okay.
I need to go back to the right.
Okay. Sometimes this might take a little fiddling with, you know, till you're happy with it. As you're tightening the bolt, a lot of times the pointer will move on you. That's what's, I think, happening right now. So we need to go back to the left.
No, I think you well, maybe a tad to the right, just a teeny bit. You're good.
Right there?
Yeah, right there.
All right. Now take a look at it with your own eyes down there. See how it looks. Instead of through the LCD screen. Now, once you're happy where the pointer is at, then come back and just go ahead and torque it up to 18 foot-pounds. This is a 13 millimeter. There you go, 13 millimeter head on there. All right, there it's good. All right. Now, looking at the pointer one more time, just to make sure he didn't jump around over there. Okay, he's right there in the notch. Looks good. All right, now once you get your tension all tightened up, you got it where you want it, then we can come back. Now we can take off the vice grips. See, now everything stays right in place. Okay. All right, once you get your vice grips off, take another look at your marks. Make sure everything still looks good. All right, he's good. He's good. Take a look down at your crankshaft sprocket. Make sure he looks good. All right, he's still lined up pretty good. Everything looks good now. Okay, now once everything is, once you are satisfied with the pointer, the tensioner, now we're going to get ready. We're going to turn it around. We're going to make at least 2 turns. I like to do probably 6, 8 turns. I do that enough times to make sure that this here belt is going to track and find itself. Okay, and so let's go ahead and let's turn this thing over. All right, so we're going to get in here. You want to make sure that you turn this clockwise. Okay. All right, it's coming up on 1 turn right now. Okay. All right, so there's 1. Let's take it around again. Now, a lot of times when you're doing this here belt, you're going to find that this here pointer is going to move back and forth. All right, that's normal. Now, what I shoot for is that when I get to the end right here, okay, and that looks pretty good, okay, but let me just spin it on around again. We'll give it 4 times round. All right, there's number 3. Okay, one more time again. Now this belt should be tracking itself pretty good now. Now, when you come up, let's get this thing up on top dead center. Okay, that'll be the number 1 and 4. Cylinder, of course, is on top dead center. Maybe just a tad more. Okay. All right, there's our notch. He looks pretty good to me. Now let's go up and check our timing marks up on our camshaft sprockets. Okay, he looks right there on it, and he is right there on it. So he looks good. Okay. Now, what you want to do is when you do that, go back, check, verify your pointer down here. Make sure that he's still back in that notch. A lot of times when you're doing this and you're turning the belt around and it's tracking and trying to find where to get itself seated, this here tensioner may not be in the same spot again. So what you want to do, if you see this is off, go back and make a readjustment. Put it back in the notch. Spin it around again. Go back and check. And mine is looking pretty good. He's right there.
Well, we're going to wrap this video up, and you guys stay tuned for the next video where we'll put the rest of this stuff back on here, the timing belt cover and splash shield, crankshaft pulley, serpentine belt, and things of that sort. So I appreciate you guys watching, and you guys take care.